We are live on LinkedIn, Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. Hello, everyone. Let's wait a second while people get situated, and I'm very excited to talk about our topic today. Very important topics today. Who's ready? All right, let's do it. Sip of my coffee. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Sex Afflictions and Porn Addictions. I am your host, Craig Pera, and this is a podcast to help you create healthy sexuality and a great life, sustain healthy sexuality in a great life. And that requires a system. And we're going to talk about a couple of aspects of that system today. One, risk management. Risk management must be a part of your system. We're going to talk about holiday risk management. Another aspect of your system I propose must be mindfulness, because what wires together fires together, and mindfulness is the counterbalance, the hiccup, the speed bump, the space that counterbalances that reality. So we're going to talk about those two aspects of the system today, risk management and mindfulness. And I hope going forward in my podcast, I continue to highlight what aspect of the system the topic I'm talking about is under. I'm going to be giving more attention to that. I'll be giving a lot of thought about the assets in the mindful habit system, like the deliverables or what must be part of your life portfolio. We're going to talk about that. But let's talk about the holidays. The sex addiction, porn addiction, compulsive behavior, reactive behavior, mental health admissions, suicide attempts, hospitalizations, all increase over the holidays for a variety of different reasons. And some of those reasons are the fact that there is excess. There's excess over the holidays, and that excess contributes to impacting somebody's mental and physical state. There's also a reward component of the holidays. So if you are an addict like me, the holidays were your time to get that reward, right? The holidays were my, I deserved it. I would create sexual acting out treats, go see an escort, go to a strip club. Oh my God, the holidays at the strip clubs. It was like an annual thing. And so that pattern of reward and escape doesn't go away. So not only you've got the reward, you've got the escape, you've got the vulnerabilities, a lot of disruptions to people's patterns. And you've got increased family interactions, and some of those may be distressed. New situations may create fear. There are a lot of challenges going into the holidays, and I want to help you manage those challenges in a healthy, constructive way. And here's what you're going to do. Okay. We are creatures of habit. This is not complicated. This is risk management 101. Risk management 101. And I'll share with you a formula, and we're going to use that formula to help you manage risk in this one area. Risk is frequency times severity. So let's say we're talking about a bad thing, right? Lying about watching porn. Frequency is how many times you do it. Severity might be how long, right? That could be a severity impact. The longer the time, the more severe. The severity could be a measure of the impact that slip had on you. It could be a measure of how dark you went when you fell down that rabbit hole. So risk measures frequency and severity, and that's going to come in handy later on. And write that down. I think everybody must know risk management principles. And my executives and professionals, entrepreneurs listening to this podcast, like, can you imagine not managing risk in your business, for your unit, for your department? The notion is preposterous, and you need to bring these skill sets to your life too. And the good news is you have a framework already that you can build on, right? If you're a systems thinker, applying what you know to create great professionally is a skill set that you bring to your personal life, right? So a lot of my clients have that framework and they actually kick themselves like, oh my God. So to analyze what bad could happen, you have to look historically. Look back 5 years, look at the patterns, and make a list of all the bad things that have happened in the past, or at least the top five, right? The one things that you really, really want to prevent from happening, right? And so the second part is, well, there might be new risks, right? There may be new challenges. So let's say there was a recent discovery. Some people in the family know, other people don't know, or you're going to be in an environment where your wife is going to be very triggered. That's a new risk. And so you've got to be proactive about that, because we men, we have to be leaders, right? There's things that we can do to make it better. So, but we have to know what are the bad things that could happen, right? What happened in the past, and what don't I want to happen this holiday season? So you make that list and you reflect on the unique risks that are presented by your situation coming into the holidays. It is often very important for husband and wife to be in lockstep, to have a safety plan, to have a code word that says time out, right? Just to bring the risk management to your relationship. And man, if you're listening to this, there's probably a lack of trust and driving everywhere and doing this and doing that. You might have to go above and beyond. You should be going above and beyond to make your partner feel safe. To make your partner feel safe. And partners, he may be more triggered. And listen, stress, we're talking about the physiology of fear. If the thinking of the sexual triggers is too triggering or too upsetting to you, focus on the added stress. And again, for a lot of people, the holidays are traumatic. So what bad things have happened in the past? Make a list of those important ones. What could happen? Right? And sit down with your partner. If you're close with your brothers and sisters, hey, what do we need to pay attention to this holiday season, right? Let's be smart. Let's be intelligent. Let's use skills that we have in our personal lives to create better lives. And then you make a list. You make a list. And then you grade each one frequency, like how many times because this thing could happen. Like, listen, if it's a little thing, but it happens 20 times, well, that might get a high. You can grade it low, high, L or H, low or high. And you do it that way to force the split, low, high. Wherever you got a high, that means you need to come up with a plan. Here is my plan to avoid this risk from happening this winter season. And man, I recommend you put that plan in writing, because that creates a sense of accountability. And there are key stakeholders that are involved in the execution of that plan. Your partner should be part of that plan. Be proactive. Be proactive. It's not rocket science. What are the bad things that could happen? What are the bad things that might happen? What do I need to do to prevent those things from happening? It requires just a little teeny tiny bit of being proactive. And listen, a lot of life is about the teeny tiny bits of being proactive over time add up. Okay. So speaking of holidays, a lot of stress. The holidays are traumatizing for me for a variety of different reasons. The reward, and it's not like that I'm getting triggered. There's a high level anxiety. I have a high level of fear. I'll call anxiety what it is, the physiology of fear around gift giving and pressure around the holidays. My wife and I and my family, we've come to a mutual understanding that allows me to take that pressure off. I am very proactive in managing my mental health over the holidays. Why? Because I have to. If you have not been listening to this podcast for a long time, I have serious mental health issues. I've accepted that reality. I've learned I have to stay ahead of them. And one place that has given me an incredible joy is practicing mindfulness in my car. And I'll tell you how it started. When I moved out to California to take the job at Esurance that I got fired from, that I hated, that I completely sabotaged, started the affair with the prostitute, that started the drugs, my inability to manage stress in that environment literally like brought me to my knees. And my car, my dad gave me his car, which was a very generous thing, but I had issues around the car, dad being controlled, telling me what to do, having to do what other people wanted, and driving his car, not having my own car. And I'm 38 years old at the time, or 39 years old at the time. And the car was like disgusting. I had cigarettes had dropped in the car. Garbage was piled up like this high. Dirt was everywhere. Fast food wrappers, cans, alcoholic cans, probably pills. I had ones with tweezers, tried to pick up the drugs in the seat. It was disgusting. It was an absolute shit show. So part of my journey was reclaiming the car, taking it back and getting the outside to reflect my inside. So the car became a very special place for me. And maybe I'll do another podcast on reclaiming the car. You might have your space, but listen, that was the place where I picked up people on the side of the road. That was the place where I drove to do any of the sketchy things that I did. The adult bookstores, the escorts. The car was the escape, the drugs, the smoking. So reclaiming it was very, very important to me. What I want to talk about now is a lot of you get angry in the car. And here's the fact of the matter. I just want to cut through the chase, and I like to draw out these lessons. I want to be crisper and more to the point. If you're getting angry in the car, you are self-harming, right? Let's think about that for a second, just for a little bit, right? First, if you're not doing self-care, you're doing self-harm. I invite you to dance with that formula, play with that formula, do the math around that formula. But let's just look at it from this perspective. If there's getting angry in the car accomplishes absolutely nothing and hurts your body. Right? Anger with the stress hormones literally leads to hypertension, which literally kills us. So getting angry in the car contributes to your early death. And in the spirit of reclaiming the car, I invite you to use it as a place to practice mindfulness. And I'm going to give you some very, 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 very specific examples, and you'll be able to take these topics and do more research and dig a little bit and find the ones that work best for you, because mindfulness is like allergy medicine. This works for some people and this works for other people. So I'm going to give you that variety, and hopefully what you hear points you in the right direction and you grab it and run with it. But let's just accept that reality. It accomplishes nothing. It's self-harming. And part of the work that you're doing, that I'm doing, continuing to do, is strengthening the identity of someone who doesn't self-harm. I don't do that anymore. I don't hurt myself anymore. I don't do that anymore. And so that gives us an opportunity to use those opportunities, every time you get angry, every time you get frustrated, every time someone cuts you off, every time the physiology of fear is activated, every time the stress hormone cortisol activates and spreads, and you feel that stress is an opportunity to do something else. It's an opportunity to counterbalance the self-harm and practice self-care and reinforce the identity of someone. No, I don't give my anger away. That's too powerful. You don't get that person who's driving like a bozo. I'm not giving that to anybody. I'm not giving that to anybody. That's no, too powerful. Because I'm not taking away from the reality. There may be times in your life where anger is appropriate, controlled, directed. So anyway, I just want to acknowledge that and not take that away from anybody. So I don't do that anymore. What can you do? All right. First of all, driving in the car is a great opportunity to practice distress tolerance. Distress tolerance, and write that word down. It is a DBT, dialectical behavior therapeutic technique, very similar to the mindful habits trigger response plan. It's what you do in the moment to not react. And that is a specific list of actions that you perform so you don't lose it. So, for example, the trigger response plan in the mindful habit is wrong thought, right. My mindful brothers and sisters may be saying, wait a minute, you're judging the thoughts. Yes, it's a process. So wrong thought, right. Snap the elastic band. Big breath. Isometrics, engage my abdomen and core. Redirect my thoughts to something else. Right? Trigger response plan. Use every single time your energy shifts as an opportunity to change your relationship with your thoughts. Right? You don't have to believe every negative thought that you have. Isn't that a miracle? Isn't that one of the most amazing things you can possibly learn? You do not have to believe every negative thought that you have. And the positive ones, you can be intentional of which ones you attach to. So you can use those moments of distress to pay attention to how do you feel in your body? What happens? I grip my jaw, I engage my neck hurts, I grip the steering wheel tighter. You can pay attention to the physiology of that distress tolerance because you use your awareness of that physiology to not do the thing. Wait, hold on, relax, focus, breath. Pay attention to what I'm doing. Driving this multi-ton vehicle on the road at whatever miles per hour. So use mindfulness to practice distress tolerance. Be kind to people out there. You never know what someone is going through. Right. And not only is it dangerous, and that makes it stupid, it's unkind and hurtful to you and to the world. So you remember that. You never know what someone's going through. Use it as an opportunity to make yourself be better, to make yourself stronger, to practice that distress tolerance, which the better you get at it, the more your life is going to change. I can promise you that. So what else can you do? You can use that time in your car to practice gratitude. Gratitude is scientifically proven to increase well-being, increase the stress tolerance, I think reduce the stress level cortisol that we talked about that came from the anger, increase the quality of your life, and give you a perspective in a life where it's half full versus half empty. Gratitude is a skill, and it will bring you great value and a critical component to most systems because it's so important and because it involves at its root that half empty, half full perspective. So gratitude is very important. So use your ride, use your driving as an opportunity to practice gratitude. Be grateful, because if you're driving in a car, you have a car. There's a brother whose car broke down who can't afford the repair. There's a sister whose car who's stuck and can't get it unstuck. So you've got that car. right? You've got that car. You've got that freedom. You've got that car that can take you to any place that you want. And you might even have the budget for gas. You may be even to pay for insurance. You might even be able to listen to the world of information to grow and to connect and to feel better about yourself and listen to podcasts. Listen to music, like the best music, the rarest music, the craziest music, the strangest music. Practice gratitude. Practice gratitude. If you're driving in your car, I think the statistic is you're better off than like 90, like there's only like 7 or 8 percentage points ahead of you in the world population, literally. So think about that. Think about that. Use your car as an opportunity to practice gratitude. The other thing that you can do is practice loving kindness meditation. Or I'll say it another way, you can use your car to practice compassion, to practice empathy. And so while you're driving, if you're anything like me, there's a narrative around judging. If people get too close to me, it's like an offense because how dare they get too close and violate my space and be ignorant and don't wave. Like I personify that. Now I've gotten great at this practicing mindfulness stuff, but I'm telling you, I do it. And if I'm hungry, angry, lonely, tired, frustrated, right? Like I feel it more. And that's even more of the reason to practice. So, someone cuts me off. Wait, that could be a client. That could be someone who just got caught and I just talked to on the phone and is going crazy and is frustrated. He might have just found out his wife has cancer. And even if he's just angry for angry's sake and there's nothing other attached to it, I'm going to forgive him. I'm going to practice loving kindness towards him. I'm going to give that person compassion, especially if he doesn't look like me, if he doesn't drive a car like mine, or where some of that automatic, instantaneous, tribal default programming kicks in. Other. Right? There's an awful lot of judgment while we're driving. And that judgment isn't good for you either. So use it as an opportunity to practice loving kindness meditation. Welcome, John. Yeah, and for those of you guys who join me live, I know I don't do this at a regular time. Let me know in the chat if you're watching this after, if you'd prefer that I do this at a regular time. Would you like to join me via chat? Would you like to be able to ask questions? Let me know, because I thought of scheduling a time, but I just haven't gotten to the habit of doing that. So let me know, please. Your feedback's important to me, and I want more feedback from you going into 2024. Because it's going to be awesome. I'm so excited for the Mindful Habit. We're having our first annual retreat, in-person retreat. And we got just an amazing group of men going to be joining us in Half Moon Bay, California in March. So I'm just super, super excited about that. We introduced our new mindfulness program. It's literally my best guided meditations for $9 a month. So you get as much time as you want to do it. And the core training program is still going strong with that weekly webinar. And if you guys use the coupon code podcast, you get 36% off. And so that is still there. It won't be there forever, but anyway, just wanted to put that out there. So back to what else you can do while you're in the car. There's a lot more great things that you can do in the car. And each one of these things, by the way, if there was a mind map here, you'd be able to see how each one of those statements impacted what a system, a successful man's system. There's a gratitude component to it. There's a mindfulness component to it. There's an identity component reinforcing that I don't self-harm. There's definitely, as I mentioned, the empathy part of it. And here's the other part of it. There's definitely a connection part of it. A connection part. And you may have all heard this quote, the opposite of addiction isn't sobriety, it's connection. Men, we are in the middle of a loneliness epidemic. Our Surgeon General says that's the equivalent of smoking 14 cigarettes per day. You know, if you're listening to me, your default is isolate. Your default is to not be vulnerable. Your default is to hide. Because that's how you were trained. That's how we men were socialized. That's how we men were trained as boy. Feeling was feminized, was homosexualized, was demonized, pussified. Right? Any expression of feeling or emotion. Well, lo and behold, who the hell knew that we needed that to be having long, happy, successful relationships? Now they tell us. So connect. Call somebody. Right? And you should never have to guess who you call because you've got your inner circle, you've got your medium circle, and then you've got your third circle. In the inner circle, you talk to every week. The outer circle, you talk to every month. The other circle, you talk to every quarter. Whatever your time frame is. I don't want to get off on a tangent regarding a communication plan, but when you're in the car, you can talk to somebody. You can talk to another human being, and you should be talking to your accountability partner. Everyone needs an accountability partner, not because you're a porn addict. No, that's not the reason. It's because you're a man who wants to be successful. And men and women too who want to be successful, you have to pay attention to what's important. You have to prioritize what's important. You must connect. You must be vulnerable. You must reach out. You must stop hiding. Right? It's not the behavior, guys. The behavior is the symptom, right? If you've been listening to me, you know that. Right? Let's go closer to the root, the hiding. Because if we solve the hiding, we solve the problem. The hiding. Connect. Radical connection. I joined the local Rotary Club, South Placer Rotary Club here in beautiful Rockland, California. Just went to the meeting yesterday. Feel so good about myself. Gave to charity. Scooped chili for free in the community at the Christmas tree lighting. Rolled up my sleeves and got to work. Connected with people. Overcame my terrible fear of being out in public and making myself vulnerable. What do you do? Oh, you're that guy. No one even says you're that guy. They don't know who the heck I am, but I got to explain it. Right? And so, which I do proudly. I'm sharing with you, though, that connecting isn't natural for many of us. And because it's not natural, doesn't mean we don't do it. Because listen, you can be brave and you can be awkward, but reach out. Learn to be present in that awkwardness. I feel uncomfortable right now. I'm at the meeting and I don't know what to say. I have nothing witty to say. I'm pretty sure the person standing next to me, I don't have to say anything. It's very liberating and you learn and you grow. So while you're in your car, use it as an opportunity to connect. Okay? I got one more. If you have any questions, put it in the chat. All right? And if you're watching after, put it in the chat and maybe I'll answer it on the next time I do one of these live streams. So this next comment that I'm going to give you is in regards to your parts. Your parts. If you're new, please learn as much as you can about parts work. A great book is No Bad Parts by Dr. Richard Schwartz. You listen to my podcast, get the mindfulness training. I do a lot of parts work for you there. That's really what I think it's best for. The mindfulness training, yes, it's strong on the biology and the breathing, and the basics of mindfulness. It's also strong on the parts work, which I think is very, very important. And here's what the parts work recognizes: that there are parts of you that don't go away, that are going to be in conflict. And that's not a bad thing. Okay. Understanding it is the smart thing. Pretending you get to a place in your therapy, for example, where you no longer get angry, you no longer feel resentment for your partner, that you don't get triggered sexually, that you don't feel hopeless. That day doesn't come. The amount of times that they come shrinks, and the length of time that they stay when they're there shrinks. But that's life. That's life. You have these different parts: the part that hides, the part that feels like he's not good enough, the addict part that wants the thrill, that wants to get needs met proactively, right? You got to learn to meet the needs of these parts proactively. And the reason for that is because here's the formula, or here's the declaration. Almost all behavior is need-seeking behavior. I say almost all to be accurate. I like to say all because that gets people thinking about like the few very narrow exceptions to that rule, like an involuntary response, a hallucination, for example. And who knows, maybe there's a need there too. So almost all behavior is need-seeking behavior. To break a habit, you have to make the right habit that meets the right need. To break a habit, you have to make the right habit that meets the right need. So these parts don't disappear. There's not some magic epiphany, even though you've had maybe that cathartic moment in therapy. These parts don't go away. So you have to manage them. And while you're driving, you may notice a few different parts that may pop up. Number one, the angry part, right? The part that feels violated, the part that feels like abused or feels intruded upon. There's a part that feels that way. The part that wants to, run the person off the road. Anger's a part. Anger's a part. And that's a part that you need to manage going forward. He will literally, result in killing yourself through the distress and the distress and the cortisol and the anger and the body and the physiology of fear, inflicting more and more long-term damage, literally causing disease. So while you're driving, you may have a part that gets lonely. Right? There might be an abandoned part. And so because you're driving, right, you can shut off your music and just be one with your thoughts. Obviously, pay attention to the road, but listen. And you may even find that you're able to have a voice dialogue. The more you get into parts work, the more you realize like you can respond to, let's say that part says, hey, pull over here and let's do something we're not supposed to do. Well, that sounds like a good idea. Goodness gracious. Wow, I think that's the perfect thing we should do right now in light of what's going on. Are you crazy? And as you dig and as you continue to learn, right, first of all, you learn that you'll always lose in a fight against yourself. So yelling and screaming and getting angry, all that self-deprecation, all that negative thinking, epigenetics, look it up. Negative thinking causes physiological changes in the body in a negative way, significantly negative way, and changes the genome. Hello, crazy. It does. It's true. It's true. So these parts are going to awaken. So you can learn to manage that part, nurture that part, soothe that part. Bigger the anger, smaller the inner child. Stronger the protector, anger gets big because deep down inside you feel small. I'm telling you, man, that's the formula. When you look inside and you see how anger was trained, right? How anger was trained in you. So that's a part you can pay attention to. The lonely part, man, so many guys feel inadequate. So many guys who have these incredible lives on the outside feel so insecure. They have imposter syndrome. They've got a critic. And sitting in that car by themselves, that critic voice is pounding them and pounding them and reminding them how bad they are. Maybe you might have a negative thought and that, boom, more negativity, literally abusive. If it was a child, it would be abusive. If it was out loud, it'd be abusive. So you have a critic part, a part that never feels good enough, a part that feels unlovable, maybe a part that feels hopeless. So as you continue to learn more and more about subpersonalities, more and more about parts work, and there's a great way to learn about it right now, go watch the Pixar movie Inside Out. The Pixar movie Inside Out is in part based on the different parts that we have in our head that are naturally in conflict, that grew and developed in response to pain, like the angry part, like the critic part that deep down inside feels so small and insignificant. Just like the addict part, unable to meet needs proactively, addict meets them reactively. So, oh gosh, getting triggered in the car, goodness gracious. So while you're driving, pay attention and listen to the thoughts that you're having in your head without getting lost in the undertow. And if you're inspired to respond to some of those ridiculous thoughts instead of the anger and the shame and the beating yourself up, you're doing that anyway. I'm not saying to do something you're not doing. You're already talking to yourself. I'm saying do it mindfully. Talk back. Well, that doesn't sound like a good idea. Tell me more about that. Right? And then as you learn more about protectors, you learn more about exiles, you learn more about the internal family systems model, you learn more about the mindful habit system. Proudly doing parts work for almost 13 years come this January. The future gold standard in psychotherapy for some people, because it's like allergy medicine. This works for some people, this works for others. And the thing about the parts work, guys, it is a never-ending journey. They change, they evolve. We change, we evolve, we get older, and our relationships with our parts changes, but it still continues to be the greatest source of growth in me is the parts work. So I invite you to join this party. Find an IFS therapist, find an IFS support group, join the Mindful Habit Core Training Program, join the Partner Empowerment Group if you're a partner. If you have a very small budget and want to explore the parts work with mindfulness training, it's $9. I think you can sign up for $1 and it's $9 per month. So I want to make you aware of that, guys, and I'll put that link out there. So yeah, check it out. I think the parts work that you do, because at its core, it's rooted in identity. And if you know from the book Atomic Habits, what is the integral piece necessary for change? And that is identity, right? Not changing what you do, not that. Yeah, that's important, but changing who you are. I don't do that anymore. I love myself. I practice self-care. So, great job listening. Thank you so much for joining me. One of my philosophies, ABK, always be kind, and keep up the great work. And keep working on yourselves. Manage risk for the holidays. Embrace your power of choice and feed the right wolf inside you, which is an interesting story in light of the parts work, because there's no bad parts. That means there's no bad wolf. We're going to address that in another podcast going forward. Hope all is well, and I'm sure I'll catch you before Christmas. Happy Hanukkah.